your parents sound like they were amazing and really like fostered this love of the arts, and it was like just part of your lives, even though that wasn't their vocation. It sounds like it was just part of your lifestyle growing up. Do you account for a lot of what you ended up being by what they exposed you to back then?
Absolutely. My parents are the reason that anything good happened for me in show business. And I'm working on a project which I have never officially announced because I've been working on it for so many years that I don't know. It's finally coming out next year for Audible. And it's really, we'll talk about that another time, I guess. I don't want to get into trouble by saying things I'm not supposed to, but it's really the whole project is I've been writing it on and off for the past 5 years or so, and it's finally going to come out in 2025, and I'm so excited about it. I've never done anything like it. It's very personal, and it's about my childhood and growing up in New York. And
Nice.
Josh, you're going to love it. It's going to speak to you very
I'm
in
the
a very
target
specific
audience right
way.
here. Yeah.
But it's really a love letter to my parents, and how encouraging and supportive they were. It was pretty obvious I was most likely gay from a young age, and they just didn't care. I had very liberal parents. They were both native New Yorkers themselves. And I just really lucked out and beyond lucky, especially for, we're talking about the 80s and 90s here. I wasn't fully conscious at the time, but I'm sure my parents were. What I'm talking about is the fact that these were the peak years of the AIDS epidemic in New York. But I was never taught to be fearful of being gay or any type of shame at all. I had no shame in that. And when it came to the performing arts and to show business, they just saw how much I cared about it.
Yeah.
And they took me to, in sixth grade, they took me to see Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour, and I sat in between them while, I was a big sweaty gay Jewish kid like voguing in my seat, and I was 13 years old, and there's like all her dancers are gay and they're making out on stage, and she's masturbating on stage. None of this was a problem for my parents. In fact, they loved Madonna, right? I begged them when Barbra Streisand first started touring again. She hadn't toured in 27 years, and I was only like 14. She finally toured again, and she came to Madison Square Garden, and I begged. I said, I pleaded with my dad. I have to see this. And because we didn't have a lot of money, and those tickets were, Barbara, she charges a pretty penny to see her live. And I begged and I pleaded, and they took me, and they loved it too. We would blast Barbra Streisand in our little apartment, and Bette Midler, and show tunes, and Sondheim, and Madonna, and everything. And I mean, I'm going on and on because I could go on and on.
Right.
And I was just so lucky. And I was always in the school musical. And then I said I wanted to go to Northwestern and be a theater major, and that's a very expensive school. And when I got in, and I was surprised to get in, but when I got in, my dad looked at me and said, "If you want to go, we'll make it happen." And that's just how they were.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not
And
going to start, not going to burst into tears, but
no,
I
no.
could.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I don't want to prompt that, but I just, for context for the audience, I know they didn't see all of this, but they really
Right.
like, they made this happen. It sounds like in every conceivable way. So I'm
Yes,
sure
they
they're,
did. Yes,
yeah,
yes, they
yeah,
did. My mom died when I was at Northwestern when I was 20, and then I had an older dad. He had me in his mid 40s, which in the 70s was unusual. That was
yeah.
very late to have a child. Now it wouldn't be. And so, my dad died in 2011, a month before we sold Billy on the Street as a TV show. And
Crazy.
so in 2011 started with me broke, no health insurance. I'm planning to pitch Billy on the Street as a TV show with Funny or Die, the company. And my dad died that March. Then we pitched the show a month later, sold it. We're shooting that summer, and it was on TV at the end of the year. But he was 80 years old at that point. But yeah, it was a strange timing.